Reporting, beach, to secret dinner, Jikook's full schedule today. The morning still leaves due as the city of Los Angeles slowly rides from its slumber. But for two big names from South Korea, Jimin and Jungkook from BTS, the day was not a time to relax. Without fanfare, without an official announcement, the two have started their day earlier than most people. Not for a big show or a press conference, but rather something much more discreet yet meaningful, a tightly kept musical project known only to a handful of trusted people. At 6:40 a.m., a black van drove slowly toward a recording studio in the Santa Monica area. With tinted windows and a modest escort, Jimin and Jungkook sat side by side in the middle seat. Jungkook wore a plain black hoodie and beanie hat. Meanwhile, Jimin appeared relaxed in a half-opened flannel shirt, revealing a thin white t-shirt that adheres perfectly to his slender body. Both brought a cup of hot coffee, but not a word was said on the way. Only soft instrumental music flowed from the car speakers, and a subtle twang sounded as Jimin twisted the ring on his finger, his old habits when he was nervous or thinking about something. At 7:12, they arrived at the studio. Without activating the main light, they went straight to a specially prepared private recording room. In it, there is only one producer, one sound engineer, and the lyric notes are still full of scribbles. That morning, Jimin recorded the chorus of a new ballad they wrote together a week ago in New York, a song full of longing, loss, and hope. Jungkook, as usual, was the vocal director as well as the footage taker secretly behind the glass of the studio. For the next 2 hours, the atmosphere in the studio became sacred. No laughing, no pleasantries, just silence filled by the harmony of Jimin's lilting voice that sometimes breaks out in high notes, as well as Jungkook's whisper that occasionally gives direction. Repeat that part, Hyung. But this time, imagine that you are relaying this to yourself. At 10:04, vocal training is completed. They took a short break on the balcony behind the studio, sitting side by side facing the sea. The morning was clear, but the wind was quite cold, so they had to wrap themselves in extra jackets. Jungkook had photographed Jimin staring at the horizon, his hair in the wind. The photo has not been uploaded anywhere, but it will most likely be part of their album later. The album was designed as a record of an emotional journey that can't be told in the media. At 11:30, they left the studio and headed for the beach. Not for a photo shoot, but to take pictures alone, just the two of you. Jimin carries a small yellow film camera, while Jungkook carries a mini tripod. They walked along the sand with a chuckle, played in the water for a while, and sat on a large rock overlooking the sea. None of the fans were aware of their presence, either because their disguises are too good or because everyone is busy with their respective worlds. But interestingly, Jimin was seen writing something on a small dark brown leather note that he always carried. A few words were briefly seen before he closed it quickly. "Thank you for staying here, even when the world is moving away." Jungkook saw her writing, but didn't ask. He just smiled a little, as if he already knew the meaning of the sentence without having to explain. At 13:00, they stopped by a small seafood restaurant on Venice Beach. The place is quiet and semi-hidden, perfect for two world artists who need some breathing room. They ordered grilled octopus, clam soup, and a bottle of fresh lemon juice. Throughout the lunch, Jungkook was seen talking more, telling funny things he experienced while filming the last commercial. Jimin, who had laughed a few times, seemed more silent than usual. Maybe it's the song he recorded this morning. At 1500 hours, they returned to their rented apartment in the Beverly Hills area. The next agenda is a break before meeting with one of Hollywood's top producers to discuss a possible collaboration. The producer's name is still being withheld, but many suspect he is the man behind the soundtracks of several Oscar-nominated films. They both wanted to create something that transcends the boundaries of K-pop, something universal and timeless. At 17:30, the car rolled back. The meeting took place privately in a quiet villa. Just two Jikooks, two trust staff, and the producer. No one knew the details of the discussion, but from the look on their faces when they came out an hour and a half later, it was clear something big was about to happen. Jungkook even had time to turn his body towards Jimin and muttered, "If this is so, this will be our legacy, Hyung." At 19:00 p.m., they returned to the beach. But this time not to take pictures. They carried small acoustic guitars and sat facing the sea, letting the twilight wash away the rest of their day. Jungkook played simple notes, while Jimin sang softly, like talking to a slowly rolling wave. The song doesn't have a title yet, but it feels like an unsent letter. Their dinner that night was not at a fancy restaurant, but rather at an old friend's house, a choreographer who used to help BTS early in their career. The food is simple: kimchi jjigae, warm rice, and homemade spicy fried chicken. But the warmth created that night cannot be bought with money. They sat on the floor, telling each other memories of the past, dreams of the future, and fears that they could never express in front of the camera. At 23.00, they returned to the apartment. Before going to bed, Jungkook opened his laptop and began editing video footage from the beach this morning. He chose one moment, when Jimin chuckled a little, covering his face with his hands, then turned around with a smile that only those closest to him see. He captioned it, "The sea knows everything." Meanwhile, Jimin writes one more line in his leather book. Sometimes the most honest voice can only be born from a quiet day and an open heart. The day is over, but not the story. Because for Jikook and for the loyal army waiting behind the scenes of the world, every second together is a piece of a bigger, deeper, more enduring story. Of course, here is a continuation of the narrative story, recording, beach, to secret dinner. Jikook's full schedule today, with a deep emotional atmosphere, and still keep the storyline to continue to arouse. It was late at night, but the light in the living room of their apartment was still dim. Jimin sat cross-legged on the sofa, wearing Jungkook's oversized gray sweater, a little thing that had been considered a coincidence by the public, but between the two of them, it was a gesture. Jungkook himself was sitting on the floor, leaning on a low table, his fingers busy arranging video clips recorded during the day. "Young, I still like to be surprised," Jungkook muttered softly, not looking at Jimin as he spoke. "We've been through a lot, but still, days like this feel new every time." Jimin didn't answer right away. He took a deep breath, letting the silence fill the pause. Then he turned to Jungkook and said, "Because every time you're next to me, it feels like the beginning." That sentence made Jungkook stop moving for a moment. He lifted his head, looking at Jimin deeply. There was a light from the table lamp that made Jimin's eyes look warm and honest. No need to say much after that. Quiet, but not because of emptiness. Silent as it is full. At 020, Jimin finally stood up, walked towards the small kitchen, and took 2 glasses of warm tea. He hands one to Jungkook, then sits back on the sofa. The ginger lemon tea they drank in silence, while listening to lo-fi music that Jungkook played from his laptop. Outside, it began to rain slowly, only the sound of a light knock on the window, as if accompanying the serene atmosphere in the room. In an instant, Jimin picked up his notebook again. This time, he didn't use ordinary words. He started writing lyrics. Sentence after sentence flowed, and Jungkook watched him from the side. "I love this line," Jungkook said, pointing to Jimin's newly written line, "The sky never forgets the color of our voices." Jimin raised an eyebrow, smiling. "Do you think we could do a chorus?" "Yes," Jungkook answered quickly. "It could even be the key to the song." Without hesitation, Jungkook picked up a guitar and tried to string together a suitable tune. He played softly, tried some chord progressions, then slowly sang the line with the notes he created. His voice was hoarse because it was late at night, but that was precisely what made it sound more real. Jimin began to harmonize, singing his backside with a light falsetto vocal, and the evening turned into an intimate little jam session. No professional microphones, no producers, no managers. Just 2 friends, 2 artists, 2 souls who have known each other more than anyone. At 1.45, they saved all the results of the record and video. They knew that morning would soon come, and the outside world would again go crazy with speculation and news. But as they both leaned against the same wall, sharing the same blanket and falling asleep to their own music in the background, no fear of the future, just hope.